Ladies and gentlemen, the nightmare of every morally superior, wonderful, highly educated, oftentimes apoplectic liberal Democrat is here. He has announced. If you don't think he's announced, go to Truth Social and read this post here. During my 4 years in the White House, I didn't use everybody's favorite plane, the Boeing 757 we campaigned on for our big 2016 win. Now it has been completely modernized and renovated and looks great. All done in the great state of Louisiana and coming back to the skies in the fall of 2022 or maybe sooner. Get ready! Exclamation point. And so, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. If that's not an announcement, I don't know what is. Aside from him saying, I am going to run. I know it's not an official announcement, but he's telling everybody he's using the same campaign aircraft, and he's going to run. Now they're trying desperately. Liz Cheney is trying to find as much gossip and hearsay as possible. So is Adam Kinzinger and Democrats. Somebody said Trump threw his dinner at the wall. Oh my God, this is worse than Watergate. Do you remember when Nixon tried to commandeer a limousine and lunged after a Secret Service agent, says somebody close to an official of Mark Meadows? Do you remember when that happened? Do you remember when all the tyrants of the 1930s and, every horrible human being you could ever think of threw their dinner at the wall? Or knew somehow that supporters were armed and sent them to overthrow and undermine our democracy? That never happened. It was a terrible day. It was a horrible day. But that's not what happened. It was a day that got out of hand. That I condemn. That you condemn. But that's not what Trump did. That's not what Trump did at all. He didn't do that. Just like he didn't work with the Kremlin. Just like he didn't do anything nefarious in his tax returns. Just like he didn't do anything criminal with Stormy. Just like he didn't clear Lafayette Square. That was a bogus hoax also. To force out peaceful prosecutors, peaceful demonstrators who happen to be linked to a church burning. All of these wonderful, peaceful demonstrators on the left are coincidentally always linked to arson and criminal activity at churches. But Trump is basically, he's back. He's not renovating the 2016 757 for, he would have used it, but he was using Air Force One 2 years ago. He was still president. So he's renovated the 757 he used in 2016. He's going to fly around the country, and he's not going to do so at the expense of, well, who knows? But he'll probably use a lot of his own money also. Unlike Mashed Potato Brains Joe or any other Democrat who will use campaign donations to buy a Steele dossier to set up and frame their direct political rivals. Which is what the Steele dossier led to an FEC fine. I'm just wondering if every never-Trumper or every liberal Democrat who thinks that, that fateful day in January was the fall of our republic and our democracy. I'm just wondering what you think of the Steele dossier. Do you know what it is? Does Bill Maher know what the Steele dossier is? Probably not. If Bill Maher was if somebody explained to Bill Maher, for example, or anyone in Hollywood, and Bill Maher at least is objective some of the time, goes after the Democratic Party, but he doesn't really know like the information derived from the Durham Probe Special Counsel and information we've known for years. The Steele dossier was purchased by Clinton. It was purchased with a law firm and attorneys, specific attorneys, being a conduit, being middlemen in between the Clinton campaign and foreign nationals who compiled the dossier, including officials who worked, including former and current Russian officials. The Clinton campaign purchased that dossier. Could you imagine if Trump purchased a dossier against Joe or Hillary or Bill or any Democrat or President Obama? Could you imagine if Bush did that with President Obama and said, you know what? He wants a Russian reset. So therefore, that country wants a Democrat. It would never, the media would say, oh my God, you're setting up and framing an incoming president with an outgoing administration. And so you have to ask yourself, is there anything truthful in the allegations they level against Trump? And if there aren't any there aren't any truthful statements leveled against Trump, why are there so many still never Trumpers? Just because they don't like his personality? Do they like Mitt Romney's personality? Do they like George W. Bush's personality? The worst president of all time. I mean, it's like people are still infatuated with Trump's personality. We have 8 to 9% inflation. We are in a recession right now. We are getting closer to a major nuclear confrontation, and I talk about that on the Nuclear Confrontation channel. The Nuclear Confrontation and Stock Market Crash channel. I talk about that, so hit subscribe there. I have a very important segment on, yesterday it was Putin's Satan II missile, which is 50 times more powerful than Hiroshima. Okay? And now there's a Chinese missile called a space nuke, quote-unquote space nuke, that orbited around the planet and hit a target in a test to evade U.S. intel. So that could both of which can evade our early warning systems. Okay, pertaining to a catastrophe like that. But anyway, hit subscribe to the Nuclear Confrontation and Stock Market Crash channel, and I'll have a segment on the oil prices 150, Bitcoin 10K recession channel very soon. Bitcoin will get to 10,000 or below, and unfortunately, oil will break the all-time high of $147. We had the Doha Agreement that Trump negotiated to reverse U.S. foreign policy, bring Americans home, that Biden completely botched. Those 13 Americans should be alive today. Those 100 Afghans should be alive today. It called for a May 1st, 2021 withdrawal. A May 1st withdrawal. May 1st. Not a couple months later when people around Joe told him to just, hey, you know what, you might as well abide by it. May 1st. That was what was negotiated upon. That ended 20 years of failed foreign policy. The longest running war and counterinsurgency conflict in American history. Trump ended that. Biden was forced to accept it during his presidency, but it was negotiated under Trump's presidency. That's why he's the anti-war candidate. When you compare him to the Lincoln Project people who would never have done that. Mashed potato brains Joe would never have done that. There's zero diplomacy as it is. You have all these people saying, well, we just have to give weapons and armament and have that poor country fight for us. They're fighting for everybody. It's like, well, don't you want to negotiate a peace deal? Because the invading country isn't stopping, ever. They're not stopping for years and years. And God forbid if they cut 5 million barrels a day in oil, J.P. Morgan stated it could get well over $200 to $300 per barrel. That's J.P. Morgan. That's not me speculating. Well, they're speculating also. But anyway. So hit the oil prices, 150 channel, Nuclear Confrontation channel. Everything's getting worse when the adults are in charge. And Trump did not. He did not orchestrate a plot to overthrow the government. That is, you have to be a complete imbecile to believe that. Especially since the Federal Bureau of Investigation already cleared him 2 years ago. And that's a fact also. They found nothing. We had a great economy, great foreign policy under Trump. It was the media that melted down. All because of his personality. People still don't like his personality on the left. Like, so get over it. Get over it. I want a good economy, people. I want a great foreign policy. I don't want what we have now, which is like, Biden is almost the worst president of all time. He hasn't surpassed Bush yet, but that could, God forbid, happen. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe. I'll have a live stream tonight at around 9.